After weeks of speculation and uncertainty, England have finally done it. They've announced their new Test coach in Stephen Fleming and their new but also old Test captain in Joe Root. In the space of one press release, the ECB have managed to do something which is both entirely predictable but also bafflingly confusing all at once. So let's break it down, kicking things off with the appointment of the new coach. Brendon McCullum is out after a string of pretty poor results, including an absolute pasting on an Ashes series, obviously by the Australians. Bazball is over. Towards the end of McCullum's reign, Bazball tended to look more like an excuse rather than a theory or a mindset. So in his place comes Stephen Fleming, who has less red ball experience than Brendon did when he took the job. Fleming is of course a very experienced cricketer. He's 53 years old, he's won 5 IPL titles as a coach with the Chennai Super Kings, and he's one of the most respected coaching brains in world cricket. Here's the most curious thing, for want of a better phrase, about all of this, is that the ECB have replaced an inexperienced Kiwi with an inexperienced Kiwi. Because for all of Fleming's IPL pedigree, and it is a serious pedigree, winning the IPL 5 times as a coach is no fluke, it's a serious achievement. It's all in white ball cricket. He has absolutely zero red ball cricket coaching experience. But it's not just the IPL, he's coached in T20 franchises around the world. He was also formerly a coach of my team in the 100, the Southern Brave. But by any honest measurement of this appointment, he is walking into the job with absolutely less experience than his predecessor did. So when the CEO of the ECB, Richard Gould, proclaims in the official statement about Fleming's proven track record of building winning environments, you have to question the logic because it wasn't in Test cricket. If McCullum had also lost his job as the white ball coach and Fleming replaced him there, no one would really question it. But a Test match is an entirely different prospect. There is a huge, undeniable difference between being brilliant at franchise cricket coaching and then also knowing how to manage a 5-day, 5-test series slog against South Africa on their home turf in the middle of December. In just over 4 months' time, we'll find out if that difference matters, because yes, we won't see any of Fleming's England until that series in South Africa. Marcus Trescothick is taking over as the interim coach for the upcoming Pakistan Test series, which is at least on home soil. But what this does mean is that England are going into their next Test series with a guy who won't be in the job for very long at all, and then he's going to be replaced by a guy who's never done the job. It's undeniably a tricky situation for both Trescothick and Fleming, who will be coming into the role later down the line. But at least their captain at the helm of the team is going to be the experienced Joe Root. For the second time in his career, Joe Root is stepping into the role of England's Test captain. I can understand the sentiment of going with Root. He's the best batter of his generation. He's arguably the best batter that England has ever produced. He's second on the all-time Test run scoring leaderboard, and there is something nice and sentimental about him taking over the armband now that his mate Ben Stokes has retired. But sentiment will only get you so far, and decision making and actually being able to manage in game is where the difference is going to be made. During his first stint as captain, Root averaged 46, which isn't bad, it's solid, but the moment that burden came off his shoulders in 2022, he went to 53 as an average across 35 tests at a strike rate nearing 70, and he banged out 11 hundreds along the way. Now that's the immediate difference between Joe Root, the captain, and Joe Root playing at the absolute peak of his powers. More context to that is that while Root was captain, he was undeniably the most consistent batter and performer in that entire team. So not only was he captaining, but he was also kind of carrying the squad in that era. Root's win-to-loss ratio as a captain is perfectly 1-to-1. He had 27 victories and he had 27 defeats. Of the cricketers inside the list of the top 10 most games played as a captain, Root has the worst win-to-loss ratio of any captain. However, hilariously, the second to worst ratio of any captain on this list of top 10 blah 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 is Stephen Fleming, who had 27 defeats but 28 wins. England have just taken the format's best free-scoring batter and handed him back the one job that historically has made him worse at his own game. Every press conference, every field-setting decision, every "what's your reaction to that dropped catch" question, that's all mental bandwidth, which now, instead of going into his batting performance, is going to have to go across all these different facets that come with being a captain. Now, to be fair to the ECB, Rob Key did actually address this one criticism directly, in that Joe Root will now get to lead free from COVID restrictions that kind of hollowed out his first stint and his bubble life away from his family. He couldn't quite communicate and interact with the squad in the way that you normally would as a captain during those years. And that is a genuine, that's a fair point. You can't ignore the fact that being a captain during the COVID years is going to be drastically different to being a captain now. But it doesn't distract from the fact that his stats are inarguably better when he's not captaining the side. Let's just take a moment as well to spare a thought for Harry Brook. Brook was obviously the other name in line to take over as captain here. He's England's white ball captain. He's seen by plenty of people as the long-term successor once Stokes stepped back. But instead, he's now watched the job go to a 35-year-old who already had the job, gave it up, and is now being given it back. For Harry Brook, who's just spent the last year and a bit, 2 years, captaining England in the white ball formats, this is going to be a tough pill to swallow. Now Harry Brook's going to be waiting stuck behind a man who, on the numbers, is arguably better off not doing the job at all, which is an awkward position for a 27-year-old who is inarguably and obviously ambitious. There is absolutely no doubt that this is going to have an impact on his playing over the next few months or years while Root is captain and he isn't. I'd absolutely love to be wrong about this, by the way. I hope that Harry Brook completely does prove me wrong, but I do think it's incredibly likely that this is going to have a huge knock on his confidence. But it's not all doom and gloom. This could actually work, and let's finish the video on a positive note. As the aforementioned Mr. Rob Key brought up in his announcement speech, Stephen Fleming does know how to build genuinely high-performing environments, and his IPL record shows that. Root himself has pointed out something drastically different to his time when he took over the mantle in 2017 compared to now, which is back in 2017 he was very much building a team from basically nothing, whereas now he's inheriting the Bazball, Stokes, McCullum team, which at this point is fairly well established. Obviously there's been a few new names such as Emilio Gay, and Jacob Bethel is still relatively new to the fold, but this is a team that is kind of set and is ready to be picked up and moulded in a way that both Fleming and Root will want to do. Add in Marcus Trescothick, who is undeniably a safe pair of hands to take over for the Pakistan tour while Fleming prepares and does whatever it is he needs to do ready for the South Africa tour later in the year, and it's not as if England are in a terrible position. Instead, we're getting a brand new coach, a brand new clean slate. There's no history to defend. We don't really know what to expect, what style England are going to play. It's at the very least exciting. It's a new chapter for the England Test team, and I, for one, as obviously a fan, I'm very excited to see where this chapter goes. Now, over the past few years as an England fan, we've been through this and we have been burned, especially recently, but we've also seen it pay off in undeniably amazing ways. December in South Africa is going to tell us a lot more than any press release ever could.